So yesterday, the Packers were unable to get the victory in Jordan Love's first return since suffering his MCL sprain. And Colin Cowherd went on to his podcast last night with John Middlecoff on the Colin Cowherd podcast, and he broke down lots of the NFL games from Sunday, and he started off with the Green Bay Packers, touched on Jordan Love in this game. So let's give this a listen and hear what he has to say. If you guys are new to the channel, I put up Packers content usually 2 times per weekday. So if you're into Packers content, Packers news, feel free to subscribe and turn on the post notifications. So here we have it from the Colin Cowherd podcast.
Minnesota Green Bay, because going into Lambeau, 28-0 lead. It was weird. I said this Friday on FS1. I didn't want to bet this game because I could see 2 different things happening. And one of the things I could see happening is Jordan Love without a lot of in-game reps against Brian Flores and just being rusty, just being off. I mean, Brock Purdy and C.J. Stroud were like, this defense is insane. I've never seen anything like it. And I did feel like Jordan just kind of, it was moving real fast for him. And, I mean, their special teams, their defense, it wasn't good either. Green Bay had, I think, 7 penalties in the first half. But I did give them, I mean, they made it tight. Is it a fair defense of Jordan Love? Is this maybe the best defensive coordinator? You're not getting in-game reps. This is a lot. I mean, this thing made Brock Purdy and C.J. Stroud look lost.
Yeah, I think there's 2 ways.
So I think Colin Cowherd is right on with this take. I don't think that, looking at this game, that you should come away thinking, oh no, the Packers are doomed. Jordan Love, all he does is turn the ball over. I think that you do really have to take into consideration the fact that Jordan Love came in week 1. He looked a little bit rusty against the Eagles. He had some bad decision making in week 1. And then, unlike most quarterbacks in the NFL that didn't suffer an injury in week 1, were able to come out week 2, week 3, really start to get things clicking and get into a rhythm of the actual NFL season after spending all offseason, not playing real live football. Jordan Love hasn't had that opportunity, and you throw in the fact that he hasn't really played much. He also suffered an MCL sprain. He was facing a defense that loves to blitz the quarterback. And so, while I would have liked to see him come out there, be perfect and not, throw any turnovers, that wasn't the case in this game. But I don't think it's necessarily a sign that the rest of the season, this is what we're going to see from Jordan Love in this Packers offense. I do think there's no doubt Jordan Love cannot turn the ball over like he did against the Vikings and expect for this offense to, stay at the level they were at later last season when they were consistently putting up a ton of points. It was like through 8 or 9 games, Love threw, 18 or so touchdowns to 1 interception. And so through the final part of last season, the regular season, Jordan Love was doing a very, very good job of not making poor decisions. And so far through his 2 starts here to start the season, after missing 2 of the games with his injury, he has not been the best when it comes to his decision making. But as I said, I think that the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, as he continues to play, he continues to get into rhythm, get used to consistently playing football. I think we're going to see a lot of that cleaned up. Now, is he going to, never throw interceptions? No, I don't think he's like Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is so good at not putting the ball in harm's way, and I don't expect Jordan to be Aaron Rodgers in that regard. And, you look at a guy like Brett Favre where, Jordan Love did come into yesterday's game wearing Brett Favre's jersey after it came out that in the past week that, Brett Favre said he has Parkinson's disease, and Love comes out with the Brett Favre jersey, which I thought was pretty cool. But lots of people brought up that he played a lot like Favre with his 3 interceptions. And, the thing is that you can still find success if you're somewhat if you are somewhat, consistently turn the ball over. Obviously, you don't want to see it, but guys like Brett Favre have found success in the NFL, even though they are more prone to turnovers than a guy like, let's say, Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, you hope it gets cleaned up, and I do think it will as the weeks come by. And the other thing that Cowherd brought up was how this Brian Flores defense with the Vikings caused a lot of problems to both Brock Purdy and C.J. Stroud. And I do think it is important to note that C.J. Stroud and the Texans offense last week were only able to put up 7 points. The Packers here put up 29, and they missed 2 field goals. Easily could have been 35. And so even though Jordan Love turned the ball over a ton, the Packers were able to get back into this game. They were able to pick up a ton of yards. I believe that the Packers, so far, excluding Monday Night Football, they had the most yards in the NFL in this week 4, 465 yards. And so this isn't a team the Packers can't beat. They definitely can. The defense came back, helped them a lot in the second half. The Packers just started too late. And so, the Packers offense, I think they're going to be fine. I'm honestly not worried at all about this Packers offense. Now, if Jordan Love keeps turning the ball over like this a month from now, then I'll have some more concerns. We saw him in the 49ers game last season in the playoffs. He threw that turnover across his body. So sometimes he makes bad decisions. He just needs to clean up some of those in some of those crucial moments going forward. Now let me show you this final clip from this podcast where where Colin goes a little bit more into depth.
Yeah, I mean, I think the knock on Jordan Love, and I heard this coming out of college, was he was loose. He was talented, but he was really loose. And players that play like that, Mahomes can early in his career, generally. Now, the good news, he has Matt LaFleur. But players like that will revert back to that when things speed up. They'll get really loose. We've seen, by the way, Stafford earlier in his career could do this, where, when things break down, you're running for your life, you're moving, you're trailing, you're just trying to make plays. So I give Jordan Love a little bit of a pass. But I think the thing with Darnold that's unbelievable is that his precision. I mean, he had 20 of 28, 7 rushes. So you're getting all the upside that we always knew with Darnold, which was guy can make plays, a big, strong guy. And we're getting none of the reckless. So,
all right, to stop there, I don't think that's necessarily the case. You look at that game yesterday against the Packers, Sam Darnold should have had an interception on the first drive. Packers linebacker Isaiah McDuffie dropped an easy interception. And, I mean, that would have drastically changed things to start the game if the Packers defense started with an interception. And so Sam Darnold threw a couple balls yesterday that were real bad. He threw an interception to Xavier McKinney. PFF has Sam Darnold with the same amount of turnover-worthy plays as Jordan Love at 3. So it's not like Sam Darnold played a perfectly clean game. I think besides those plays, he was pretty good overall, and especially the first half. Sam Darnold, this Vikings offense, picked apart the Packers secondary that was without Jair Alexander and Carrington Valentine. They cleaned it up in the second half. But, I don't think Sam Darnold really played a clean game. He could have had 3 interceptions.
I was texting with a friend in the league today. He goes, Minnesota's got the best coaching staff in the league right now. Top to bottom, the best coaching staff. Everything's hitting. And, we this is an offensive league, and we always know who the hot offensive coordinator is. Ben Johnson a couple years ago or last year. We don't talk about the hot defensive coordinator. Mike McDonald for Baltimore was, but you're overshadowed because it's an offensive league. Brian Flores, people forget when he was in Miami. Take the Tua thing out. He takes a mess over. They're not very good for about 4 weeks. They get pretty interesting for 4. And by week 8, Miami had elite defense and special teams. And he has worked hard, Flores has, to clean up his reputation. When Tua bagged on him, he immediately addressed it and apologized. He smiles. Kevin O'Connell, by the way, have you noticed this, is letting Brian talk at press conferences. He's giving him an opportunity to hey, man, we're going to rehab your image here a little bit. Brian is smiling. I mean, clearly Minnesota knows what they have, knows they're not going to keep him forever. He's going to get a job. We'll rehab your reputation. But I think what Flores is doing, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, C.J. Stroud look completely lost.
Brian Flores.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, you can't take away what the Vikings were able to do yesterday. They forced, three Jordan Love interceptions. Tucker Kraft for the Packers had another fumble. And so this Vikings defense is very, very dangerous. And as he mentioned, if you're causing some of these really good quarterbacks to struggle as they did, the Vikings definitely have one of the better defenses in the NFL, especially when it comes to getting pressure on the quarterback. We look at this game. Jordan Love was pressured at the 10th highest rate this week per NFL Pro at 37.5%. And of course, when you have a quarterback coming back with an MCL sprain, that's not what you want to see. And I honestly think it's pretty shocking that Jordan Love was pressured 37.5% of the time, and he was only sacked once. There's no doubt that he didn't have the same kind of athletic scrambling ability, because you could see that knee injury seemed to be holding him back a little bit. And after the game, he brought up that he's basically not 100% right now with that knee. But he still was able to get out of the pocket a good amount and get the ball away, even though they are bringing pressure all the time. And he was pressured. He had the most pressures suffered this past week, tied with Jacoby Brissett at 21. And so this Vikings defense can definitely get after people. But the Packers did almost come back in this game. They did almost win. If you lose by 2 points, you almost won, in pretty much any scenario. If there are a few different things go your way, obviously you can play that game from both sides. You could say, well, if Sam Darnold didn't throw an interception, or if this didn't happen, this didn't happen. And when you look at the Packers kicker missing 2 field goals, that's just one indication that this game was very, very close. It was pretty much lopsided each half. The Vikings dominated the first half. The Packers dominated the second half. And if one little thing went right for the Packers in the second half, the story would have been, oh my gosh, the Vikings crumbled. They were up 28 to 7 in the first half, and then they couldn't hold on. What's going on here? I mean, the NFL, it comes down to a few plays here and there that can all easily decide the outcome of a game. And so this was a very, very close game, and that's why I left this game not feeling terrible. After the first half, as a Packers fan, felt terrible. Thought this defense looks very bad. I know we're without Jair, but that's just ugly. But to see them come back in the second half, only allow 3 points the entire half after they got picked apart the first half, you have to give the Packers defense a ton of credit. They, Hafley was dialing up some more pressures in the second half with some more blitzes. Blitzes Keyshawn Nixon, causes a sack fumble. Packers get the ball. Xavier McKinney picks off Sam Darnold. They were stopping the Vikings on third down consistently. So the Packers had some fight in them in the second half, which is what you want to see. And they could have easily gone out of that game, gone into the second half, not really done anything, and lost that game, 40-21 or 14, whatever the score could have been there. So you want to see your team win. The Packers didn't win. They have a lot to clean up, but they showed a lot in that second half. And so that's why I'm not that upset from this game. They lost a lot of things to clean up, but it could have been much worse, and they could have easily won this game if a few things went their way. So those are my thoughts. If you want more Packers content, feel free to subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys next time.